check-in with Mr. Sal Capaccio. It's playoff week. He's been kind enough to give us a few minutes here. Sal, good morning. How are you today? A rainy Tuesday in store, so plan accordingly.
Yeah, I think it's going to get a little warmer this week here in Western New York.
Maybe 50s on Thursday?
But it's going to be mid-60s, maybe even a little tick higher than that Sunday in Jacksonville. So, yeah, I mean, normally, obviously it's a Tuesday, and normally I don't come on, and the Bills are off today. The Bills are off, but obviously news yesterday, and it's playoff week. So,
sure.
We a lot to talk about here, of course, leading into what's happening before that nice warm weather game in Jacksonville. I think it's going to be, by the way, it's going to be like 80 when we land on Saturday.
I was just going to say, I forgot to be mad at you, because if they'd gone to New England, no one would be upset. But you're just going to Florida.
Yeah.
Were you very excited about that prospect?
Yeah, I kept thinking about it, and all the different. In fact, when Pat Hammer was on with me last week, I said, man, we got like 5 different cities we could be talking about next week. And he's like, oh, yeah, and they're all extremely different weather, right? And I looked, it was like 50-degree difference between New England and Foxborough and Jacksonville. So, yes, I am excited for that part of it to, this time of year, go to someplace that's a little bit warmer.
You could have a little playoff run here where you go Jacksonville in the first week. You go to Houston in the second week. I don't know if you can avoid the cold, though, in
Denver and Buffalo.
If they made it to the championship.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, if it's Bills, if it's Jacksonville this week and then Houston next week, that is setting up for a possible – the only way that could happen is if the Chargers win, which then you're thinking okay, I'll gladly come back to Buffalo and Orchard Park for a championship game.
It would be incredible. All right, so yesterday Sean McDermott was asked about the Jaguars to kind of get into a playoff mode week. What impressions did you get from what they had to say about this Jacksonville team they're coming up against off 8 straight wins?
Yeah, I mean, Sean McDermott talking about, as he always does, how good the opponent is, how impressed he is, but no doubt about it. You guys, I think, have talked a little bit about this morning. He specifically, brought up how good they've been since they added Jacoby Myers, and he said he's always been a fan of his, respect for his game, playing against him, not only in the passing game, but as a blocker as well. Talented football team, playing well in all 3 phases, and that's right, guys. And look, I think a really big story this week is the Bills being without Matt Prater right now. We don't know if he's going to play or not. The Bills are going to bring in kickers today to work them out. We'll see who that is. They'll have a plan A with Prater hopefully able to play, a plan B in case he's not, and then have somebody on the ready. And then on the other side of the field, you have a kicker who's kicking record kicks. He has the top 2 longest kicks ever in the National Football League, including a 67-yarder last week in Cam Little. So, yeah, I think all 3 phases really, really matter this week.
To dig a little further into the kicker decision, Sal, do you think there's anything to be made from if they bring somebody in? We had a caller suggest Ray Davis earlier, and I don't know. I don't want to say it's completely a coin toss, whoever they bring in, but I just watched Baltimore miss a kick to go to the playoffs, and right before it, Mike Tirico was talking about how when they got this guy in, Tyler Loop, they talked to him, and they were so convinced that he's so good for these moments, and then he misses. Kicker voodoo on some level. I can't sit here and tell you any one of the 3 guys they could line up for tryouts would be a better idea than any other.
Agreed with you. If they're out there right now, they're out there for a reason, right? They haven't been on a team. They're not, on an actual NFL roster right now, and there's only 32 of those jobs in the world, maybe a few more if teams have an extra kicker or practice squad, whatever. You get the point, but I agree with that. It's something you have to look into. There are names, people are floating around names. I've heard the name Rodrigo Blankenship by a couple of people. Somebody called yesterday. He's in the UFL right now, right? He's playing for the St. Louis Battlehawks, right? Younghoe Koo was a guy they brought in last week, 2 weeks ago, as a tryout, along with Matthew Wright. Now, Matthew Wright's a name to keep an eye on. He actually was with the Bills during training camp / preseason, I think, when the initial injury to Tyler Bass happened. So, you want to get somebody in who also is familiar a bit with your operation, with Reed Ferguson, with, I guess in this case, Mitch Wisnowski, but the Bills have gone through multiple punters since then. So I think there's a lot to consider here when it comes to who you might want to bring in, but I think that is one of them, Jeremy, for sure.
Do you think part of the consideration, Sal, for Prater's availability this week isn't just whether he practices, but that he left last week? He could say, I'm ready to go.
It?
Yeah, but how nervous do you think they might be from, okay, he thinks he's ready to go and we think he's ready to go, but he just got re-injured in the middle of a game, and if that happens in a playoff game, that could be a nightmare.
100%. They have to be really sure, Joe, that he's beyond that point. This week's going to be really much relying on the medical staff for that information, for Matt Prater. And, Matt Prater is the longest, he's the oldest player, I should say, in the Bills locker room. He's one of the oldest players in the NFL. If not the oldest, actually, right now. I have to look. But
Are we counting Phillip Rivers? If we're not counting Phillip Rivers, I think he's the oldest.
There you go. There you go. I think at least because you have a guy that has kicked so long, he's been in the league so long, he's going to understand and be honest and say, I don't think Matt Prater is going to go, oh, yeah, I'll be fine when he knows that he could be in a compromised position. So he's going to have to be honest, and the medical staff's going to have to be honest and do their due diligence, and I do think that's something they have to consider.
Maxwell Hairston out for this game. He will not play, right? And neither will Ed Oliver. They're not bringing him off IR, which, maybe we got to wait a week or two, or we'll see on that. But on Hairston, Sal, McDermott spoke about how it's unfortunate, the numbers. He kind of laid out how it is difficult to sit everyone and try and rotate players in. But looking forward to this game, how big of a loss is Hairston in this one?
It's huge. And it really just, like last night, just sitting around thinking about, man, the Bills have been down a corner every year in the playoffs, right? I mean, They lost last year. They lost Benford in the championship game. I think Benford got hurt the year before, 2 years before. I don't know. I can't remember if he played in the other Kansas City game in Buffalo. Like there's been multiple injuries. Remember the Pittsburgh game? I think he might have got hurt the week before that. They just it feels like they're down a corner.
Trey White in the 13 seconds game wasn't available because he tore his ACL.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Whether it was a week before or during the game, the Bills just seem to lose a corner right around playoff time. Anyway, this corner is particularly very important to them because A, he provides really solid depth and even in a rotation basis. Now, honestly, maybe he wouldn't even play many snaps against the Jacksonville Jaguars because Trey White's playing well. He's a veteran. I get it. But this is a team in Jacksonville that can spread you out. They have speed on the field. They really want to attack matchups. And I think that's where Max Hairston would be really nice to have because he can be a guy that you can have on the field to counter those matchups and say, okay, we're going to match you speed for speed. The other area is this is a Jacksonville team that's going to force you to tackle. They're going to get the ball in guys' hands. You have to tackle. And Max Hairston isn't the biggest. We know this. And I know the knock on him, quote unquote, out of college was tackling. Guys, he's been a very willing tackler. He's actually been physical this year when he's been in there. I like what I've seen from him. Unfortunately, he did get hurt on a play in which he was tackling somebody and he got twisted up and rolled up upon. As far as the numbers are concerned, and I've seen the criticism, I totally get it, right? I mean, in any situation like this, if you lose one player, one starter, fans are going to be upset. Why was this guy playing? I mean, someone texted me yesterday, tweeted me, I should say, and said, well, they could have had Sam Franklin or Savage or Cam Lewis. They were all playing at the time. Savage got hurt the play before that. Sam Franklin was in on that play. Sam Franklin was. He was playing safety on that play. Who do you want to pick? They were all already playing. The Bills started 9 out of 11. Their starters were different than a normal starter. 9 out of 11 guys were backups. And it came to a point where, sure, I mean, you could pick, and Sean was even asked yesterday, would you ever get to a spot where you would even put a guy out there who's not even a corner to save on guys? And sure, he said, yeah, you think about those things. But guys, I mean, football players are football players. And Jordan Hancock was a name. He was already playing. He was on the field. And then he had to go to boundary corner. I would say that's also a tough situation when you put a guy in a spot where he doesn't normally play. So I just think it was a really tough needle to thread in that situation. It was unfortunate.
Sal Capaccio joining us on the Worcester Hotline. One more thing before we go, Sal. What are you picking up? What are you learning about this Jaguars defense? We know they've won 8 in a row. Jacoby Myers at the deadline, what they've done. I'm seeing a lot more about how their defensive coordinator, he's one of these guys that does it all in a lab, right? He cooks it up. And what they've done defensively to get after the passer, to get after some pretty good quarterbacks, they can be troubling. And I'm seeing a lot that it's a big stress on the quarterback to get protection calls right. Has that been something that the Bills this year have had more trouble with than years past? Is this maybe a sore spot for the Bills that it's going to be important to button up in the matchup?
No doubt. One thing I've seen them do that I've seen lately online is they've been moving Josh Hines-Allen and who's their big defensive tackle? My apologies right now. I can't think of him right now. Walker. No, not Walker. The guy they drafted a couple years ago really high. They're putting on the same side, rushing the passer.
Eric Armstead?
No, not Eric Armstead.
Okay.
The defensive tackle.
Trayvon Walker? No, he's the end.
That might have been it. Might have been it. But either way, the point is they're putting him on the same side, and apparently that's been a really big boost for them. Teams have to account for both these guys on the same side. They've been moving them around, so that's one thing. I agree with that. It's funny you say that, Jeremy. The numbers are they do not actually sack the passer that well. Yeah. They're 30th in the NFL in sacks per pass attempt, only a little over 5%. But what they do is, to your point, which is right, they put stress on the offense to figure it out. And even if they don't get to you, they force mistakes. They actually have 22 interceptions on the year. 22 interceptions. The Jets had 0. Think about that for a second, right? I mean, they get after the passer, and they are aggressive. They have a very high interception rate. They lead the league. Let me see if they actually lead the league total in takeaways. They are second, 31 total takeaways, 9 fumble recoveries. So, I mean, that's going to be a premium this week is ball security and Josh Allen knowing what he's seeing and getting those calls right.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Thanks, Sal.
You got it, guys.
Quick check-in from Sal. We'll talk to him again throughout the week as it's Bills and Jags. Get more of your phone calls in as well, 803-0550. Looking at the EPA per dropback for the Jags. Like their defense, an EPA per dropback, number 1 is Houston, number 2 is Minnesota, number 3 is Cleveland, and then the Jags are right there tied with Seattle.